Nothing will change in the world and in our own lives if we're not kind to ourselves. If I cannot be kind to myself, which most people are not. I interviewed a lot of people and speaking to a lot of people. Everybody says, no, this inner voice is terrible. Eh? They call it your inner critic for a reason.
Welcome back to another episode of Humanity 2.0, where we are meeting with Arnold Beekes, who is a brain fitness trainer. What that means, we're going to find out today. But first, we're going to dive deep into humanity and ask him our 8 degrees of humanity questions. So, Arnold, how are you doing today, first and foremost?
I'm really, really very good. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. What's making you have such a great morning, or is that an everyday thing for you?
No, well, it's a thing of most of the days, but I was a little bit of a nose cold the last week, and today it seems mostly gone. And I had a very nice sleep, so I was full of energy and things, mentally, emotionally, and physically doing fine. And I worked on some stuff which worked out really well, so that's why I have a great day.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. And I detect an accent. Where are you from exactly?
I have a Dutch passport and I'm currently living in Romania.
Oh, wow. What's that like?
Well, it's pretty good, especially compared with the Netherlands where I'm from. But yeah, it's nice. It's okay, although the weather is very cloudy and gray and drizzle kind of. But generally speaking, it's okay.
Would you recommend people to visit? Is it a good place to go for vacations?
I have not been outside of the city in which I am. I'm living here now for 2 years. So I cannot tell anything, well, from videos and the usual pictures outside of this city. But this city is certainly recommended. But I think it's kind of an exception in the country, because it's a separate region in the country, which in the past has also been part of different empires. So it's not typical of Romania, I would say it like that. So if you go to Bucharest, I expect it's totally different than what it is here. But here is like, it's safe, it's clean, people are helpful, things which have mostly disappeared in Western Europe, but here is it. But I guess Bucharest is more like any other big city. So, but over here, that's not the case.
Well, it sounds like a nice place for sure. If you could pick anywhere in the world that you would invite someone to see, where would you send them?
I would just ask a couple of questions because it's very personal. It's like, yeah, do you like moderate weather, cold weather, warm weather? Do you want to have mountains and beaches, or do you want to have rural areas? Do you want it to be busy, or do you want to be quiet? You want a lot of wildlife, or just like New York, a bustling city? So it's, well, I would be really a failure if I say you have to go there. It depends on what you love.
So let me ask you a different way. Where is the most beautiful place that you have ever seen?
I know. Vancouver Island. It's in Canada. It's literally a small island opposite the city of Vancouver, but it's really an island, and it's so nice. Nice houses, forests. It's quiet. A lot of artists are living there. I like that. There are a lot of galleries, but the galleries are basically a room in someone's house. So I really loved it there.
Yeah, if you love art, that sounds like an amazing place. And I love trees. And I lived in Washington State, which is not too far away. So I remember just like that lovely environment. And I assume in that part of Canada, it's very similar too. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to ask like some general questions just to kind of get us like introduced to one another and get relaxed here. What is something that you're notoriously bad at?
Well, I'm really bad at doing technical things with my hands. Yeah, so you cannot ask me to fix the electricity or tell me how it works or to repair my car or something like that. I have no clue how that works.
Have you ever tried?
No, I don't even try anymore.
Same, same. I could never even go under the hood. I'd get lost and I'd never come out. Can you tell me something that you're really good at, that you're proud of it because you're really good at it? What's something you're proud of?
I'm the most proud of my discipline. And that has helped me in my personal life, in my professional life, in everything, in my health, actually. So it's just proven very, very helpful to me.
And is discipline something that you're born with, or is it something that's learned along the way?
I think it's learned along the way. But I grew up my father was a military officer, so the moment I was born, there was supposed to be discipline. So it's part of who I am, but it's a learned skill, I would say.
So from birth, you had to cry upon demand. You could only cry when you were ordered to cry.
Yeah, and basically the answer is you should not cry.
Growing up with a very disciplined father, how did that affect, the rest of you, like your love for art and how you developed? How did that affect you?
Hugely. Like, I think your parents influence everyone. So it does also to me. And it was terrible. So my father was extremely authoritarian. Uh, at home, even more than at his work, I would say. So, yeah, he was like a dictator. And that impacted me, but also my mother, also my brother and sister. So well, it was not a nice experience. Let me put it politely.
How did you then become more of yourself and just begin to, I guess, embrace your own identity?
Well, there were stages. With the first stage, I would say, what I really loved is when I get out of the house. When I, 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 I started studying in another city, and there I got a room, and that was such a different experience to have my own room and nobody else, and that was really, really great. Yeah, and then later on, when you get a job and you get your own house, that's another phase. But the main transition which I made was, it's a combination of things, but it was when I got laid off, I got divorced, and my father died, all in the same period of time. And that is where I really made a decision, is like to explore different things than what I was pushed to do.
I'm sorry for your loss, and that must be difficult to lose your father. How old were you?
Around 40. My father died pretty young. I'm on a Dead Parent podcast this Saturday, but
Hmm.
it's about grief, and I'm sorry, I have no grief because it felt to, I would say, all of us as a liberation. It sounds harsh, but that's the way we feel.
Yeah. Grief for everyone is completely different experience, so it's okay to feel any way after that parent passes. I've seen, folks who grieve for a very long time, and then there are those who see it more as like a practical part of life and they just move forward. It's different for everyone, and no way of grieving is wrong.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are you ready for the 8 questions of humanity? Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
When you hear the word humanity, what is the first image, story, or feeling that comes to mind for you?
For me, I when you use the word humanity, I associate it with 8 billion individuals on this planet, and each person with his or her challenges, experiences, knowledge, skills, everything. What I say is people are unique. So we talk about 8 million unique beings. That's when I hear the word humanity.
And then when you think of those unique 8 million beings, where does your brain go?
My brain goes to that in our education system, in our society, in governments, in religion even, we we try to make everybody the same. Yeah, I recently heard the word samification. And that's what I say is like you have sameness and you have uniqueness. Those are the opposite. And what we're trying to do is to make everybody the same. Whereas I'm saying that is extremely detrimental. That's one of the causes of all the mental illnesses which are exploding. But the other part of it is that we're trying to do something which is impossible. It's like, I cannot make the same because inherently I'm unique. So you cannot make me the same as Vanessa. Yeah, so it's an impossible thing, but that is why our education system, well, it lasts 20, 15, 20 years at least, because we're trying to make everybody the same, which is an impossibility in itself. So, and it makes me sad because that hurts so many people and it suppresses so many people. And at the same time, your question also to me is like, we use the word humanity like is one group and they're all behaving the same and everything is the same. And I'm like, no, that's totally wrong. They're not the same. And the other thing is like, they say like, everybody's fine just like me. No, it's not. I totally believe that the majority of the population is suffering on many, many levels. And that hurts me.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you. When I think of sameness and I think of our culture trying to make everyone the same, I think of also how we are constantly looking to the person next to us and trying to emulate, whether it's the person next to us or social media or what's going on in the world. And we're trying to be like or better than or present a facade that we are like or better than. What is it that you think makes us want to try to be that way, but then also recognizing that we are unique?
Well, number one is that all the media and the upbringing education is pushing us to compare us with someone else. And that makes you sad in itself because doesn't matter who you compare with, you're different. So it doesn't make any sense to compare you. And it makes most people sad because people are, well, nobody's comparing themselves to the garbage truck driver, and everybody wants to be Cristiano Ronaldo, the football player, or Elon Musk, or Sam Altman, or whatever name of celebrities you choose. And then they're like, oh, I'm not like that. Yeah, of course you're not like that. You're a unique individual being. So the drive to compare in itself makes you disappointed.
So then would you say celebrating yourself and your uniqueness would be most helpful to the person?
I think that is a great idea for. I think we should skip birthdays, we should skip things, and it just every day celebrate your uniqueness.
I love that so much. Thinking back on your life, there are moments of humanity that we see that make a big mark on our lives, and we just remember those moments. Can you tell me a moment in your life where you saw an example of amazing humanity?
There's not really something that pops up. Oh yeah, what I want to say is that there are these people. I just mentioned the garbage truck driver. all of these people where since the COVID thing, that they call them essential jobs, a lot of these people, and they can be the person selling groceries, or it can be someone who clears the weeds from your garden. There, these people mainly in what they say low level jobs, who are totally ignored in our society. But those people are the most kind and real people there are. So I find it amazing that the people from a status point of view, we're supposed not to compare, not to, not even to talk to them, or whatever. But it's like, those are the most kind and nice and friendly people there are.
I agree. For some time, I had the opportunity to travel around and interview truck drivers, and so many of them were the most real people I'd ever met. And because they too had traveled the country and just observed people, it gave them a really gorgeous insight on why we do what we do and who we are and who they wanted to be. But they were so happy to just travel and do these jobs where they're literally just moving freight from place to place. But they were so happy because they were able to just be out in the world and travel, and then meet people upon chance and have really excellent conversations. I think there's much joy to be found in even the most basic of work.
Yeah, and they are not playing a role. They're just being themselves. And I just finished writing a new tale. I call them tales, which are small books which I read, and the title is Mrs. Mask. And it's about how most people in the corporate world, especially, they wear a mask, and they wear a mask all day long. These people don't wear masks. So that is real. That is who they are. They don't need to pretend like I'm something else than a garbage truck driver. When I see here in my apartment building, I see him every other day, whatever. I don't speak Romanian. He doesn't speak English, nor Dutch. So it's like, we just wave and hello and whatever, and we're so happy to see each other. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you go again for your walk?" Yes, so it's like bit with your hands, like what you're doing. Yeah, it's the most beautiful thing. Whereas a lot of these other people, they just play a role. But these people are genuine.
Thinking about people who speak different languages, you can't understand each other, but you can smile, you can wave, you can shake hands, all of these physical ways of expression or visual expressions that communicate so much. That's amazing to think about, right? That we can communicate even without words.
Yeah, because especially the elderly people and people at these lower level, they only speak Romanian. Some of them a little bit Russian, but I cannot communicate with them. I can communicate with my hands. I can point things, like you said. I can smile. I can wave to them. Yes, it's like you can always communicate, but it's like in the end, with everything, we are frequency. huh? It's energy, vibration, frequency. So it's the energy what you radiate. It's not the words that you use, because people can use very nice words, but if I can feel the energy, like, no, it's not real. huh?
Hmm.
So if they feel you have the right energy or whatever, that's what it's all about.
Love and loss play a really huge part in our lives, in our life stories. Is there a moment that you can recall of either love or just loss, maybe even someone that you met professionally along the way, that had just a huge mark on how you perceived humanity?
It was my father and the upbringing, but not only the upbringing, because the moment I started to have my job and my own house, he's still your father, and he was still alive, and he still has an influence. So he had a huge influence, but I'm pretty sure he didn't know what love was. My mother didn't know. I just recently found out that because of the SSRIs, which she was being given, I think, for a very, very long time, suppressed it. So my first coach in the beginning of my 40s said, Arnold, you're the man who grew up without love. And that touched me. And I thought, yeah, that is true. And I think that's true for a lot of people, but sometimes it's one of the parents where at least it, but in my case, it was both parents. Yeah? So I didn't grow up with love. So essentially, I don't know really what love is. I know what society gives a label to it, but I think that's completely wrong. And we associate the wrong things with love. And I think in society, really, really unconditional love, I've not experienced it. And I'm very hard working on having unconditional love for myself. And I think I can only have unconditional love for someone else when I have unconditional love for myself. And I'm making progress, but I'm not there yet. And I think in society, we mix up love with intimacy, with sex, with not being alone, with. That's why I say the definition has been totally mixed up. And I think when we really, really need to talk about love, it's unconditional love. But that is something completely else. Your other question is about loss. Well, that's in my case, like all at the same time. I had a divorce, I lost my job, I lost my house, and my father died, all in the same few months. So that was challenging. That was and challenging, mental, emotional speaking. There was another loss which I had just very recently. It was 4 years ago. I had a very severe car crash, which was 100% someone else's fault, but that doesn't help. And I lost my functionality and quite some other problems. That resulted in the fact my main outlet to relax was to do sports. I've done in my life 12, 13 different sports, and every day I was doing some kind of sport. But now I can barely walk. So my heel is destroyed, which means you cannot run, you cannot jump, you cannot do anything. Yeah, so that has a huge impact because that was my main way of getting out. Because I'm a knowledge worker. You see, it's like I work with my head and the screen, but sport was my outlet to get out of my head. Yeah, but I couldn't do any sports anymore. So that was a huge loss as well.
So how did you come
And still
back
is
from that?
because I'm well, I think I won't recover from that. Yeah, so
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
no, it's just like it's not that. Well, my heel is destroyed. It won't all of it. It's now 4 years ago, so I think it won't get back to full functionality. It's already kind of a miracle that I can walk. So, which they predicted would hardly be possible. But it's my discipline which got me back that I'm able to walk. That's why each morning I go for a 45-minute walk, which is for me huge exercise. Yeah, but that's what I do every day. And I'm pretty sure if I wouldn't have done that, I would be by now in a wheelchair. So that is a huge loss. It's the loss of your health. It's basically the loss of the functionality of your body.
Yeah, and we don't realize how much of an impact your health makes on your life and your quality of life, for sure. We don't think about that till later when it's too late. Hopefully we can, do things to fix that or to help make it a little bit easier, but we really don't consider that. I know I don't. But I have to say, you are wonderful. You are loved, definitely. It's it's amazing to see that your level of discipline is your superpower. And I'll say that again, your level of discipline is a huge superpower for you, because even though, discipline was enforced from an early age and love was not, but that discipline kind of pulled you out of some difficult situations, it seems like. And when you lost your father, lost your home, lost so much in a short amount of time, that discipline that you were given, it still seems to have come and pulled you out of some difficult times. And then also thinking back on growing up without love, I can understand how the value of unconditional love becomes even more important for you. Do you recognize when people are offering love to you now?
Well, the unconditional love I only see with these people who are not playing roles. Yeah, so those are the same people, the truck driver, the same people, because they are just who they are, and there's no agenda or there's nothing about it. So that's when I experience that the love is kind of mutual. Yeah. The thing for other people is like they play a role, and most people, if not all, and I mean including myself, is like in essentially we're self-interested. Yeah? So we pretend we're not, but everyone is self-interested. I'm also self-interested. You are also. So it like we can pretend it's not the case, but yeah. So the other side I always see is like, and I'm 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 kind of distancing myself from it. It's like I see that people they want something from me, yeah?
Mm.
And I'm like, no, I mean I'm not in for that. What popped up when you were asking the question is like you see it in animals. A dog, yeah, I know dogs better than cats, but there's really unconditional love. Yeah. They did something wrong. 5 minutes later, you're their biggest friend. Yeah, so it's like they're really, really always being kind and unconditional. And it's not like, well, I will only wag my tail when you give me food. No, they wag their tail when they see you. So unfortunately, it's not much in people. And I'm openly committed. I don't have unconditional love for myself yet. So how can I display it to someone else if I'm not to myself?
If we maybe try to practice unconditional love with people on a daily basis, then we get better at it. And so I try to make it a point to tell people when I hear their stories, or when I meet someone new, I try to tell them how awesome they are, or something about their story that stands out, that's just, amazing, because for the most part, people need to hear encouragement and to sometimes be cheered on, and that is a form of unconditional love, I think, because I'm not giving it expecting something else in return, but I'm just trying to kind of give them, a little bit more support. So I think that we could practice it every day, and then, eventually it just becomes part of us.
Without getting into semantics, I would call that unconditional kindness. Is it unconditional love? I don't know. It doesn't sound to me. It's like you're just being kind, eh? And you're just encouraging people. Is that love? I don't know.
I think so. I think there are many forms of love, so I think it could be. Now, every culture tells stories about what it means to be human. They have different rituals, different traditions. What from your background traditionally speaks to you about humanity?
Well, I live most of my life in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is in Western Europe. It's a call it, anglicized society. So a lot of stuff is copied from the US. So everything, well, we used to say everything which is in the US is 10 years or 5 years later in Netherlands. So that means it's very individualistic and extremely into the individual, and not, well, like, as opposed to more Eastern philosophies, which are focused more on the group. Yeah, more cultural is on the group. Netherlands is extremely individualized, and yeah, neighbors don't care about you, don't visit. It's everyone to him or herself, and yeah, that is how I see the culture in which I grew up.
Hmm. Do you think that it could change or evolve, or it'll just stay the same?
The only thing where it will change, and it has changed, and there's some research around that, is that when terrible things happen, like a war, there's proof that in city like London, which was being bombed in the Second World War, that people are so helpful and supportive of each other, and crime almost disappear. So it's like when these horrible things again, people are more coming together as a group. But if that doesn't happen, I don't see it changing.
In today's society, AI technology, social media, all of the new technology that's coming in is affecting humanity and how we perceive humanity. Do you think these tools are helpful or a hindrance?
The way AI is developing now, I think it's a huge threat to, well, maybe even people say to the existence of humanity. I don't know about that, but it could be. But especially now, what I see is to cognitive de-skilling, emotional de-skilling, everything. What I'm seeing is that it has a huge, huge negative impact on people. But the main problem is they don't realize it. So everybody thinks like this is the best thing after sliced bread. So they think it's fine because it supports people's inherently being lazy. So it's like, oh, it can do a lot. And it used to take me a couple of hours or days or weeks or even months, and it does it in 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, it's super cool. And when I say, yeah, but it impacts your capability to read, to write, to understand, to work on these things. And it's not only for kids. Like there's been research. I recently read some research from doctors in Poland that because they stopped analyzing X-rays, their capability to do these X-rays diminished very, very big time. So it impacts humans' capability to apply common sense,
Mhm.
to have critical thinking. So that has a hugely negative effect, but people are not aware of it.
I would agree very much. Nowadays, people can go on ChatGPT and they can create so much content, so many articles, so many courses, and they can teach things that are, spit out by technology, by AI. And so there's no more thought into it. They can write captions for social media and have AI produce emotional or even in some cases, manipulative phrases that can help generate emotions and elicit emotions from the viewers, and they have no part in it. And who knows if they're even, really reading what it is that they're posting. It could be posting things that they would not normally say. So there's definitely a lot we can take from that for sure. If you could share a message with humanity, what would you tell them?
I would tell them three things: be kind, especially to yourself, be present, and be creative.
And why do you choose those things?
nothing will change in the world and in our own lives if we're not kind to ourselves. Like, it's similar to what I said about unconditional love. If I cannot be kind to myself, which most people are not. I interviewed a lot of people and speaking to a lot of people. Everybody said, no, this inner voice is terrible. Eh? Yeah. They call it your inner critic for a reason. Eh? So if we don't learn to be kind to ourselves, how can I be kind to someone else? And there is a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of suffering in the world. So you need to be kind, because otherwise they call it doom scrolling or everything else. It's all negative, but you need to be positive in this way. But that starts with being kind to yourself. The second one, being present, is most people either live in the past. They're always comparing things to the past. No, it used to be like this, or I used to do this, or this is what I always done. Or they live in the future, like, oh, I got tomorrow this exam, or I hope it's not going to rain tomorrow, whatever it is. But that is why we miss that on the sidewalk where I was walking is like, there's beautiful snails going. Have you seen those snails? What, snails on the sidewalk? So be present, because life is only now. There's no other time. Even, we can discuss about whether time and space is real, but what I mean is, like, there is only now. There's nothing else. Be creative. I'm becoming convinced that creativity is only our way out of this mess, because globally and country-wise or city-wise or community, it's a mess currently. So it's very dysfunctional. The only way to get out of this is to create something better, whether it's for your living, whether it's for your working, whether it's for learning, it doesn't matter. But I, Vanessa, you, have to create, because we have been taught the wrong narrative is that, no, the government will take care of you. Well, they won't. And they're proving it every day. So it's like, we have to learn to create what I call a better for all learning, living, and working. But we have to do it.
I like all of your responses very much. Something that keeps coming up for us, I believe, during this conversation is unconditional love, but having it for yourself. I feel like that's a really big part, really important thing for all of us, but it seems very recurrent throughout your life. And I think that's wonderful. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. Let's talk about your work. You are a brain fitness trainer. What does that mean?
Well, that's why I choose the word brain fitness. That was intentional, because people now understand that in order to keep your body fit and healthy, you need to move and exercise basically every day. And that can have different ways of doing it. Yeah, you can go to the gym, but you can play tennis, you can go swimming, you can walk your dog, you can you can go biking. Yeah. So as long as you move and exercise and use it, and people, well, not everybody's doing that, but at least most people understand, yes, I need to do it, or I'm doing that, whatever is for the health of my physical entity. But what are we doing for our brain? Basically nothing, because since, well, it depends on the type of education you had, but let's say around 20, 25, the main learning and your main change, whatever, that stopped, because then people start working. Yeah, now and then they have a course or a training, but the major change or major new things, it stops. Your brain is a muscle just like your body, so you have to keep on using it. And it's the same with your brain as with your body. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially now, because we are bombarded 24/7 by all of these extremely negative things, you need to counter that. And people are countering it right now in the wrong way by addictions, yeah, by drugs, by alcohol, by sex, by porn, by more stupid videos on your phone. You see, it's like it's all destroying your brain. That's why we see, which used to be called elderly diseases like Parkinson and dementia, whatever. You see it, the age going down and down and down. Yeah, that's why. Well, the mental illness thing is exploding because everybody is suffering in one form or another. But that's because we don't take care of our brains. And what people don't know is that we actually have three brains. Well, that's a rabbit hole, but it's like we have a head brain, a heart brain, and a gut brain. But we're not taking care of it. Well, that's the same if you don't take care of your body. Sooner or later, you cannot use it appropriately anymore. So that's why I say, just like you have a body fitness trainer, I'm a brain fitness trainer.
What have you created from this concept?
Basically, what I've created is a training program. It's a 15-week training program. It's called From Fitting In to Flying Out. It's to help people to, well, get out of the treadmill, get out of the cage, I call it, and to be more free in what they're doing. And well, I'm referring back to the beginning of our dialogue about being the same versus being unique. I help people to unleash their uniqueness. And that's what I do in this 15-week training program. It's a 90-minute session, which I do live with people. And that's one session. And then, well, hopefully you will have the discipline to do your homework in the week. And then we have another session. Yeah. And that helps people with that transition.
Do you have any stories of success or stories that are remarkable, people that began in one place and then just blossomed, that you can share?
Yes, I a few years ago, I met a man, and he was an employee in a very small company, and he was working most of the day on financial reporting, so watching spreadsheets all day. And I was in a co-working space, and he was also there, and his boss was also quite often there. And I could see that he has much, much more talent than he was able to use or able to be, I would say, approved to use, because his boss was not interested in any new ideas. So anyway, I ended up with helping in, literally from fitting in to flying out. And now he's an entrepreneur. He has his own SaaS company, which is very successful. He's writing a book. So he's very, very happy. He is clearly convinced about his many talents, which were totally dormant and totally being ignored, and now he's using. So I think that's a beautiful example.
That is a beautiful example. It sounds amazing to go from being, like you said, dormant and then just blossoming and having all of these opportunities and all of these wonderful things awaken in him. That's amazing. Where can people find more information about your program?
My website is called braingym.fitness. That is where people can find me. They can find about my training program. I also have some viral workshops around specific topics like uniqueness, like dealing with emotions, like dealing with aging. like forming habits. So those are just one-off viral workshops which they can use. I have a new book coming out, and there's one already there, which is called The Adventures of Dr. Alfred Moore, which is a tale about a heart specialist becoming a social entrepreneur. So it describes in a tale like how you can make that transformation.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And what's the new book about?
The new book is about Mrs. Mask, is why, well, actually it was triggered when I see it basically every day, women going to their work with their high heels and totally full of makeup and special clothes and a special bag and whatever. And I'm like, I was so curious, like, how are these people without the mask?
Mm.
Hmm?
Well, I
And
think some ladies would argue that it makes them feel good about themselves and feels a little more confident.
but
Some.
isn't that sad, Vanessa, that you need that in order to feel good? That is part of the conditioning as well. Yeah?
What is next? Are you going to go on tours speaking about your books? Are you going to continue to develop more programs? What is your future outlook for the brain fitness industry?
Yes, I'm continuing to promote this because it's new, so people don't know about it. So that's why I'm continuing my promotion. I'm currently finishing a new brain operating system. We already spoke about fitting in, the other one's flying out. There's a third one called Extraordinarian, and I'm currently finishing a new one called Beyond Brain. So that's where I'm working on. Like I said, that Mrs. Mask book is a new tale which I'm just about finishing, and I sent some draft to people to give me some feedback. And I really want in the end that once I get trained enough people, that we create a collective, a trailblazer collective, where people together start building this better for all learning, living, and working. That is my dream, where I say there's a co-creation of this better world for everyone.
Well, we wish you such good luck on this journey. I hope your collective comes true very soon and that it's just an amazing community. As its leader, you are amazing. I really enjoyed speaking with you today and hearing about the brain fitness. And you are so right that we don't use our brain muscles enough. We most definitely do not. So I hope that more people will be encouraged to not only visit your program, but also to utilize those brain muscles. And thank you so much for sharing your views on humanity and your personal experiences. Above all, I want you to know that you are loved. So.
Thank you, Vanessa.